Hiya folks, you're very welcome along to this week's episode of John's Garage. This week we're featuring a 2001 Lexus LS430 Ultra, and the Ultra is very important and very rare, so we'll stay tuned and hopefully we'll go through some of the features that come with the Ultra model. This particular Lexus is a Mark III. As I said, it's the LS430, which means it comes with a 4.3 litre naturally aspirated V8. And that means it's got 290 horsepower, automatic gearbox, and about 320 pound-foot of torque. So plenty of get up and go, but that isn't what this car is about. This car is about wafting. But if you do put your foot down and you do fancy driving a little bit sporty, it gets up to 100 kilometers an hour in 6.7 seconds. Right now, we're driving a Lexus LS430 Ultra, and I'm really interested in this car. I'll be really honest, I've always wanted a Lexus, but it's always just been a little bit out of reach for me, so I was actually really excited to get the opportunity to take this car for a drive today, and I grabbed it with both hands and said absolutely yes. Now, why was I so excited to get one of these? For me, I always liked Toyota's philosophy of refinement and build quality and engineering, customer first. Always loved that. And I remember when the Lexus was launched back in 1990 in Ireland, and I remember people getting quite excited about it. But again, looking at it and being like, oh, it's a big Japanese car. How much are you looking for? Too much money. We weren't nothing after a year. And they were so wrong. I love underdog stories, and I love the fact that Toyota came out and took the big German and British brands and gave them a proper bloody nose with this car. It's so well built. Now, this car is 20 years old. It's got 121,500 miles done. I've shown you the video, or I've got a video made. I haven't shown it yet. I've got a video made where we do the glass test on the engine, where we rev it up and you put a glass of water on the engine and it doesn't spill. It doesn't barely even vibrates. That's how smooth the car is. But what it shows me is the depth of build quality in this. So it's 20 years old. It's covered 120,000 miles. Everything in this car works. I have the air conditioning oscillating here to keep me nice and cold. I have cooled front seats. I have heated front seats. I have all the buttons here for the headrests. I have the rear blind. Press that and the rear blind goes up. I can adjust my seat belt from over here. Everything, it all works, and that's the amazing thing about this car, because I guarantee you, if you got into any premium brand luxury car that's as old as this but as many miles on it, this stuff doesn't work. Most of it doesn't work. Trick suspension won't work. Gearbox will be giving problems. The engine will be probably okay, but just holding on in there waiting for its first big fail. Whereas this car hasn't had a big fail, nor would I expect it would. So at the time when this car was launched, it cost about 77,000 punts, so pounds at the time, Irish pounds. And this one has a very rare ultra luxury pack, or it's also known as the presidential pack, and it cost an extra 5,000 pounds at the time. It was a big, it was a big purchase. If you're buying the car, first of all, it was a big purchase, but if you were upgrading to these different options, it was a big purchase then. Anyway, somebody did. I've had two names as to who owned this car first. But if anybody in the comments could put in who if they know who owned it, if you could put in the first owner of this car, so I'd like to confirm it for the current owner as to who actually owned and bought this car new, because it had to be somebody quite wealthy and quite high up in business to spec this car, but somebody did. And I've two names, but I'd like to confirm which one is the correct name. So, what have we got here? We have a 4.3 litre naturally aspirated V8. So it's pushing out about 290 horsepower. I have every single reason in the world to suspect that every one of those horses is alive and is well to this very day. There is nothing wrong with this car. Everything is right. The power is there. The power is absolutely well able to come on top whenever you want it. But the thing about this car is it's not built for speed, although it can go fast. It's built for luxury, and by God is it luxurious. It's so quiet, it's so refined, it's so smooth. I could drive this all day and night, and then I could climb into the back and I could recline the seats and I could go asleep, because the rear seats in this car recline. They're also heated. There's also lovely, lovely curtains, and your rear quarter window. You can put a little curtain across that, again, to just block out the outside world and what's taking place in the outside world. Like, this car is strange now. I've tried the aircon on full. I've got the fans oscillating, but I remember at the time Toyota making a boast that even with the aircon system on full, you wouldn't feel a draft, and you actually don't. There is no draft in this car, but the temperature is nice and low. I can set the fan going full, and again, you won't feel the wind hitting you in the face. It won't be uncomfortable. It's just a lovely, comfortable car. Now, from talking to the owner, and this is one of the other plus points of owning a Lexus, even a top-end one like this, maintenance is really, really cheap. Most of the stuff underneath it is standard Toyota fare. Some of the switchgear in here will seem familiar to Toyota owners, but that isn't really a bad thing. As these cars age, you can still pick up all the parts. Everything tends to work, so it's rare that you need the parts, but when you do, it's all there, it's all cheap, it's all standard enough Toyota stuff. So there's no real big problems with maintaining these. Okay, for those of you old enough to remember, when Lexus advertised the LS first, they said the V8 was so well engineered and so smooth that you could put a glass on top of the engine and rev the car up. So we're going to try and replicate that here today. I have no idea what's going to happen, so this could turn out a complete and utter disaster, or it could still work perfectly after 121,000 miles. So let's see. No water spilled, I guess it worked. So we were going all the way up to about 4,000 or 5,000 revs there. There doesn't seem to be any water spilled anywhere. So Lexus build quality, there you go. It still holds after 121,000 miles and 20 years on the road. One of the big problems with these kind of Lexus, if you are going looking at them, is to do with the engine. The engines tend to leak oil. So this owner, again, we've had a look under the bonnet, rocker cover gasket is leaking, but that's a very, very common issue, and it's not expensive to put right, and it probably isn't going to be a big problem while you're owning the car either, but just do keep an eye on oil leaks. They can be the big bane with these cars. Other issue is tax. This car for 12 months road tax is €1,809. That's a big, big cost. So do factor that in. Prices on these, they are rising. They're already going up. You don't get cars like this. Double glazed windows, it literally feels like it's a tank. And the build, I can't get over, the build quality is incredible. The wood in here is real. It's not fake, it's not plastic, it is real. You can see where it's cracking a little bit as it dries out, but it is real wood and it feels great. The leather on the seats, 121,000 miles, it's still unmarked. There's no wear or tear, and it's gorgeously soft. And as I said, these seats are cooled. Now, a couple of interesting things about this car when it was launched. It was the first Lexus model to come with adaptive cruise control. So that means that car in front, you set the speed, the car in front slows down, your car will slow down with it, and it will perform an emergency brake. So very, very unusual option at the time. This particular one isn't fitted with sat nav, but if it did come fitted with sat nav, it was the first again to have a liquid crystal display, so you got nice clarity on the display, and again everything worked. And this car, just even the way it brakes is nice and smooth, so we don't have to do anything sudden in this car. We can relax. Even my voice is hushed because I don't want to seem like I'm shouting, because this isn't a shouty car. It's just lovely and comfortable. So as I said earlier on, this is a Mark III Lexus LS. And with this particular car, Lexus were trying to sharpen up the image, sharpen up the handling, and they went for a complete redesign of the interior. And the interior redesign was based around luxury hotels. So we're talking about the Marriott, the Four Seasons. They were the inspiration for this interior. The seats, they were based on the seats that you'd find in first class on a British Airways plane, and also Japan Airways. Again, first class seats, they modelled them on those. So they're long haul seats, they're comfortable, they're soft. You could drive 1,000 miles in this and get out and you wouldn't have a pain anywhere or anything like that. Gearbox is a 5-speed automatic and it's a torque converter gearbox. So again, it's all about being smooth. It's not about being a sports car or anything like that. Now, as I say, the car can shift, and Lexus with this particular model did upgrade the handling a little bit to make it a little bit more sharper. This one doesn't have the air suspension, but that's actually a good thing because the air suspension could fail. And other than that, it's all just about serenity, peace, harmony, luxury. It's a car you're not going to get flustered, and I can imagine the first owner of this car being quite a smart business person and wanting to be able to sit in their car at the end of the day and just drive home, and just to be transported home, not to have to worry about the experience of getting there. They could sit in traffic, they could do what they want, but they would be comfortable. Okay, and that was the main thing. I genuinely think whoever buys these cars, these are smart purchases, and they're really smart right now. So how much would something like this set you back? At the minute in Ireland, you can buy these for approximately 3,000 to 6,000 euro, depending on condition. But I absolutely, hand on heart, guarantee you they will not stay that cheap forever. So think about it, folks. In Ireland, we've a big love affinity with Toyota and all things Toyota. We love big luxury cars when they start to age out a little bit more. The original LS430 is now in the cheap car, vintage car bracket. So they're cheap as chips to run, but the problem is they're all gone. Okay, so they're all gone. That is a bit of an issue. A lot of them got exported to the UK, others went to Africa, and others have been broken. And listen, there is a lot in storage as well, but these cars need to be picked up and looked after right now. And I do say looked after, but these are an easy prospect to look after because they're so well built, because parts availability is brilliant on them. So what are my overriding impressions of this car, having had a good test drive in it? It's a no-brainer as far as I'm concerned. If you want a luxury sports saloon from around the year 2000, have a look around at how many of your German cars are still knocking around, the BMW 7 Series, the Mercedes S-Class, even the Jaguar XJs. Have a look at how many of those are knocking around still. And then think, do I want to spend all that money on something that's actually a quality car? Or do I want to spend all my money and all my money maintaining it on something that, yeah, maybe has nice brand appeal, but it's ultimately a pile of poo, you know? And that's the way I look at this, and that's why I always wanted a Lexus. It was a smart place for your money. It was reliable, it was comfortable. Nowadays, I know the looks divide people, but the build quality and the philosophy is still there. And Lexus do look after their customers. I don't care what anybody says about any other brand or how they look after people, and I'm sure they do. But I think with Lexus, it's a different ball game. Something goes wrong with the car, you are looked after. And that's what I think, okay? And it's just an opinion. Genuinely, I could drive this car all day, but I'm going to have to give it back to the owner. But it is absolutely like it's one single piece of granite that has been crafted into a car. That's how solid this car is. And everything, as I say, I'm just amazed that everything works and that the engine is still as smooth as it should be. You know, you have lovely features in here. We've got cruise control, we have electronically adjusted everything, we've beautiful leather, we've automatic lights, we've automatic, or sorry, not automatic, but electronic adjustment on the steering wheel. There's parking sensors, your mirrors fold in. I'm just bowled over. I'm really glad I took this car for a drive. It's not a case of meeting your heroes and being disappointed today. This is a case of me meeting my hero and having everything I thought about this car confirmed. I love it. Some people will say, oh, it's not sporty, it's not fast. It's not meant to be. It's just meant to be relaxing. It's meant to be well built, and it's meant to look after whoever's driving it. And I could see, or riding it in this case, and I could see this car doing this forever. I reckon, given how little this car has deteriorated in 20 years of ownership, I'd say in 20 years' time, this car will still be would still have the possibility of being used as a daily driver. That's how good this car is. And honest to God, anybody who thinks or dismisses these cars as being the Japanese Mercedes and insults them like that, these aren't a Japanese Mercedes. These are a bloody good car, and that's what they are. And people have underestimated them for long enough. I really think these are a bargain to be had. So folks, thank you very much for coming along with me this week in the car. We look forward to seeing you in our next video. Thank you very much.